Welcome to Vision India Forum, Vision India at 75, Amrit Mahotsav series. To old friends, not literally, but people who have supported and graced with their exuberance and their time and their dedication. A courtesy, General Vishnu Chaturvedi, General Vk Singh, Lieutenant General Vishnu Chaturvedi and General Vk Singh. The day for which we have gathered today, I wish we had more speakers, and we probably may have, because the message of the birthday, the special day for the general, was sent to a few top brass people from the services industry, from the services, not the services industry. Services, that is Air Forces, Army and the Navy. But we have two very important people today, Brigadier Ajit Apte and Lieutenant General Qasim Himalaya Singh. Lieutenant General Qasim Himalaya Singh is somebody who has worked with General Vk Singh for years, and he was there with him even in Jammu Kashmir, Punch. As far as I remember, in past series, he has discussed those issues. We also have Brigadier Ajit Apte, the coursemate of General Vk Singh, as he keeps reminding us every other show, and a fantastic speaker and opening batsman. Today we are going to discuss the journey of the general from the lens of his colleagues, two most illustrious colleagues we have with us as of now. Colonel Himalaya Singh, General Himalaya Singh is the first Lieutenant General of Northeastern India. What a great person he is to come out of that difficult terrain and then make a mark in India's history. We have Brigadier Ajit Apte, who was part of the 1971 war, Bangladesh Liberation War, and somebody who knows the history of the war along with General VK in and out. Somebody who is a fantastic speaker who has been opening the series for us every day. Almost 200 shows. We are nearing 200 shows of the forum. And Brigadier Ajit Apte will also definitely take us through his reading on the current crisis in the Ukraine-Russian issue, wherein General Vk Singh had represented India from the rescue mission perspective and brought back all the Indians safe from Poland. Not only he, but also Colonel Himalaya Singh would talk about his views, not only on this, but also on the Yemen crisis, which also unfolded in front of their eyes and during their heydays in the army. So I will now hand it over to Brigadier Ajit Apte, the coursemate of Honorable General Vk Singh, who is currently serving as the Minister of State, Road Transport and Highways and Civil Aviation in the Government of India. Over to you, Brigadier Ajit Apte.
Thank you, Amit. General Qasim Himalaya Singh. It's a great honor to be able to wish my dear friend and coursemate General Vk Singh a very happy birthday, and wishing him many happy returns of the day with good health and happiness. That is the first thing. It's we worked together in the NDA, National Defense Academy. We joined the academy in July 1966. And of course, we were in different squadrons. I was in Juliet Squadron. General Vk Singh was in the Kilo Squadron. That is how we transited through the academy. 1966 autumn term we joined. 69 we passed out from the NDA, went to the Indian Military Academy, got commissioned. VK has always done exceedingly well. He was a battalion cadet captain in the National Defense Academy. He was a battalion under officer in the Indian Military Academy, passed out very high in the order of merit. So right from the academy days, as they say, that a child's future is, or a baby's future is known in the cradles. So same way, I think, as we all know that the National Defense Academy is the cradle of military leadership. So also Vk Singh's attributes, his perspective towards leadership was well established right from the academy days. And Vk was a very fine human being. We were together in the same sector in the war in 71. albeit in different areas. We were on the Eastern Front, and since General VK was with the Rajput regiment and General Konsam Himalay Singh having served in General VK's same battalion, I think two Rajputs, if I'm not wrong. Am I right, KH? Two Rajput?
Yes, sir. I am from the unit, but commanded 27th.
Okay, fine. But General VK was there with General KH Singh and two Rajputs, and therefore he'll know much more. But as a postmate and as a colleague later after the war, we did a course together. I don't remember which course exactly, but when I met VK down the line a number of years before we in fact commanded brigades at the same time. He was commanding an infantry brigade, I was commanding an artillery brigade, and then of course he moved up the ladder, and I met him then once subsequently uh, when I met him when he was the army chief. He came to Pune, and by then I had retired. So General VK definitely reminisced some of the moments when we had spent together in Devlali when I was an instructor there, and I think VK had come to do a course. So then, of course, VK moved up the ladder. He commanded a corps. He commanded the Eastern Army, and he was rightly placed to take over as the army chief, which he did. And he's had a brilliant checkered career, outstanding officer. He's one of his greatest assets was he did a course in the United States of America, and he did very well. In fact, he beat a number of the Americans in their own professional competence. And VK has also been a commando dagger, a commando instructor. So I think he is the epitome of leadership and a thorough example of an officer and a gentleman of great caliber. And he was chief of army staff of the Indian Army, and subsequently, very rightly, he was placed in the ministry. He's held two different versatile appointments. He's in an important ministry right now. One of his biggest achievements was the evacuation done at Yemen, for which how he coordinated it with the other service chiefs was a great example. And subsequently, very recently, we have seen how he himself led right from the front in true styles of military leadership when the Ukraine-Russia war started, how he managed to go there and successfully evacuate the Indian students and other citizens, and also create the right platform for the evacuation of so many other citizens from different nations. So I think the very fact that he was chosen to lead means that the government had so much of faith in him, so much of trust in him, and they knew his spoken reputation, that they knew that he is the right person to lead and carry out this task successfully. Therefore, as my opening remarks, I will just say this much, that I think General Vk Singh is not only an asset to India as the former Chief of Army Staff to the Indian Army, but his contribution also in the Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, his other abilities of military leadership, strategic vision, perspectives, perception, in the molding of the military model of the country, the strategic, the geopolitical environment, and then being in the government to participate and be of valuable assistance whenever required, I think speaks volumes of VK's capability, his ability to perform, and the very fact that he is thoroughly dependable, that the government has to requisition him whenever such difficult, important tasks are required. So Amit, I think I'll now leave it to General Konsam Himalay Singh, because he's from VK's battalion and he will know much more what than I know as a course mate of General Vk Singh.
Before I bring in our dear patron, our dear friend in good faith, without any office bearing capacity, you people have been, even now Vimal Vakluji is there with us now. Vimal Vakluji is the former CMD of Telecommunication Consultants India Limited, a Mini Ratna public sector company, and a technocrat, somebody who loves talk about technology, but today is the birthday of General Vk Singh. Waklu Sahib, if you were not aware, because in our invitation, we have not mentioned the purpose of today's, except wherein the WhatsApp was sent, the WhatsApp had details in the form of an image, but the SMS text did not mention about the birthday, because it would have looked a little out of place in the Zoom meeting. As a public sector top honcho, what would be your comments on your reading of a great leader like General Vk Singh, who today commands 2 ministries of the government of India? As a citizen, as a professional, as a semi-bureaucrat, if I may use the word, what is your reading and why and what made you come and spend your valuable time in today's show?
Well, thank you, Amit. You're right. When I received this message, I was not sure why this event is happening. It was a bit of a concern also. It's good that you clarified that it's his birthday today. And first of all, before I begin, I would like to congratulate and wish General Vk Singh a very, very happy birthday and many, many more years of leadership for serving the people of the nation. Well, I met General Vk Singh last year. I just had gone to present a book to him. I must mention that he is an outstanding leader. I mean, I was really impressed by his, I would say, a humble approach, and at the same time, he is a firm leader. And he has proven that, as Apte Saab also has mentioned just now. So we are really proud of him. I'm really proud of him as a citizen and also as a public sector enterprise former chairman. There are very few leaders, ministers in the country who would be like him. That's what I would like to mention in my opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Kansam Bhai, Brigadier Sahab, I'm happy that today Brigadier Ajit Apte has not brought in any one of those old, what you call, stories, or nostalgic stories of some prank he might have played with General Vk sometime, because we are used to hearing such wonderful stories from Brigadier Ajit Apte, because he spared no one, including Imran Khan. So today I will request you to focus on what leadership qualities and how you grew up, 30 years back, 20 years back, Punch sector, sitting in that shed in a small, canopy, having food with him on the stones, on the ground, all those things, I still remember. I mean, what goes into the making of a general of the Indian Army like Vk Singh. And then we'll discuss about his migration into politics, his alignment, and how his leadership quality, wherein he now reports, or I may say works under the leadership of a very different kind of a leadership, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. All those things we'll discuss. The rescue man of India we'll discuss. But before that, your job chronicle with General Vk Singh.
Thank you very much, Ahmed, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, let me wish General Vk Singh, I don't know whether he will see us today. I tried calling him in the morning.
It's difficult. He called me in the morning, but he told me and he warned me earlier, forget me today. Okay. I said, we cannot.
Okay. So I wish him a very, very happy birthday. It was about 44 and a half years back that I first met him in a place, in a military post in Punch in Jammu and Kashmir, where I was detailed, or I was posted as his second lieutenant. Under him, he was a captain or a major at that time. And Punch, that time was, we did not have much of, terrorist activities that time, but Pakistan Army used to create some nuisance for us. So we operated together. In fact, I operated under his guidance. Leadership qualities in him, I'll only quote, the book that he has written, Courage and Conviction. And let me tell you, he's got so much of courage, moral courage and physical courage and conviction. And these two words, I mean, I asked him, how did you, how did you choose the title of the book you have written? Is so much like you. So what he said is that he liked these two words, and I told him that is just appropriate. There were stories, because when I joined, the 1971 war had just been over 6 or 7 years back. So the Jawans who served under him swore by him as far as his courage is concerned in battle. Most of the time he was operating behind enemy lines, though of course I was not present in 1971 war. And every Jawan that I came across, almost 1,000 of them in the unit, they had so much of praise for him, for what he has done during the operations. And many years later, he was a commanding officer in a place called Nausara, and I was a company commander. It means he was a colonel, I was a major. So when we were going to a forward area, there was the Pakistanis opened with heavy machine guns, and I was walking in front. So immediately the drill in the army is that you take position, lie down, and watch where the the activities have come from, enemy action has come from. When I look back, I saw General Vk Singh towering over me and said, "Friend, what are you doing?" I said, "This is the drill I have been taught." He said, "No, nothing. Pakistan army ka ye inka itna aim itna kharab hai, wo lagne wala nahi hai, get up." I mean, he was so confident of himself, and he used to tell me, nothing will happen. So get up. Whereas I was doing as per the drill which was taught in the army. So that is the type of leadership qualities he had. I can quote many examples since I have served under him in many capacities. So since you actually asked for his personal and the leadership qualities, is tremendous. And I found in him such clarity of thought. And above all, what I could make out is that he could prioritize things within a few seconds, and decision making was his forte. He took decisions based on very well considered inputs, but once taken decision, he saw to it that he goes all the way. So these are some of the leadership qualities that I found in him. In fact, many more, which I can, but these are what it came to my mind straight away. So that is what I have to say, Amit, to begin with. Thank you.
Qasim bhai, I know there are stories galore which you would, and you can narrate and tell us. And I do also feel I have been working with him very closely for the last 15 months as a civilian, driving this Amrit Mahotsav series. Before that, I did not know him much. Probably in the last 10 years, I know him. I did not know him much. But in the last 15 months, in the last year, for example, you are well aware, you and Brigadier Ajit Apte are well aware what contribution, what dedication, selfless dedication this man can have. When I started this Amrit Mahotsav series, I had just spoken to him once in Delhi in the month of Feb, and I just hinted upon it. He agreed upon it. He said, this is a good idea. We should celebrate 75 years in our own little way. The Prime Minister had not launched it till then. And when we started, 100 shows without a day's break all through the pandemic peak and through the summers, rainy season, he came every day. Even when he started visiting his constituency, he made sure that on important occasions, he was standing out of the meetings in the lawn area, in the dark, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the night. We used to have shows in the late evening also last year. You remember that? 6:37 a lot of times, you know. So he used to have that kind of a dedication without any kind of expectations from anyone. So my limited interaction is what I'm just now saying. He is a man who I trusted, and he really gave his all in terms of his time, his dedication, his knowledge, his presence, his name, his views, everything. And I never worked with him in the military. Now I'll go back to the military days. Ajit Apte ji, what makes a general and what goes into the making of a general? Because all of you start the same when at the NDA, as your coursemate did, you did. And some people become the first Lieutenant General of Northeast, like Consul Vk Singh. And some people become 4-star generals of the Indian Army. Some even become the 5-star, but that was probably by design. General Kariappa and General Manik Shaw, the 5-star, only two 5-star generals I think we have had. So what goes into the making and the mental makeup of generals? You worked with him, you studied with him when he was 17, 16.
Yeah, so Amit, if you really look, I mean, we've been cadets together. I've also been an instructor at the academy down the line. And that was about 43 years ago, 79. So when we assess, when we ourselves, when we take our minds back, we've been cadets, then some of us have been fortunate to have gone back to the academy as instructors. So one thing which comes out is that actually you can make out right from the academy days. Generally, I mean, I won't say that it is 100% correct, but generally you can make out as a cadet who are the top performers, who are those who start late. And there's something known as an all burnt point, which is a term used in ballistics. And since I'm an artilleryman, I know what is all burnt point. If the all burnt point is not reached early, that means the officer is capable of performing, and he's a long distance runner, like he's a long distance horse who can perform, who can calibrate his pace, and he knows when to exert and when to conserve his energy and move along. So that is a very important point. Also, it is important for an officer to be professionally competent, capable. He should also have the ability to perform and perform in adversity, show his courage, moral, physical capabilities, lead men, lead troops. Some of us have had the great opportunity of going into war in 71. And as General KH very correctly brought out, the troops see through their officers very early. Not all officers are brave, or not all 100% officers are always capable. We are all human beings, and all human beings have their pluses and minuses. As far as reaching up to higher levels, there is a strong selection. There is a very high competitive level, and the vacancies are limited. So perforce, the selection process starts from the rank of major in my time. Today it's different. And today there are many lieutenant colonels who are, by virtue of their time limit and length of service. In our time, it wasn't so. In our time, we had to clear promotion examinations like the Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D. So there was an elimination process at every level. Your professional competence was being checked. And unlike the other services, that is the Indian Administrative Service, the police service, or in other such services where a person reached a 2 or 3-star level very easily with nearly half the amount of service that we put in, moving up the ladder was much easier for them. That is the police, the IAS, and all other people of our equivalent seniority. Whereas in the armed forces, it is difficult. The vacancies are limited. So in the selection process, your ability to perform, your demonstrated performance, your personal qualities, your ability to perform on different courses of instructions, which actually is an ideal example of your professional capability, is what comes in. And to that extent, 85% of our uh, evaluation system is accurate in the army. 15% always there are aberrations, but those are only an exception. So I always say that the people who have reached the higher levels, right from one-star generals, like in our army, we have the brigadier general. We've dropped the word general, but in all armies, the brigadier is known as a brigadier general, major general, and lieutenant general. They are all 1, 2, and 3-star ranks, flag officers. It is by a pure selection based on merit. And as I said, 85% are accurate selections. So a person like General VK's caliber or General Konsam Himalaya Singh's caliber are definitely those who have reached the top by dint of their sheer merit, their professional competence, and they have exhibited their capabilities to lead in different environments, be it a battalion, a brigade, a division, or a corps. And then finally, of course, again at the top level, there's a further selection. Every lieutenant general does not become an army commander. There are a few vacancies. Then age is another factor which comes in. Residual service is another factor which comes in. So many people feel that in the army, it's more of a knockout punch to deliver as to who is to be knocked out. That is an elimination process, but it is not so. It is a selection process. It is done very meticulously. I've also served in the army headquarters. I've also been a member of the study group of the military secretary's branch, which in corporate parlance is the one which does your performance appraisal and does your evaluation system. So any person in the Indian Armed Forces who has reached that level is definitely capable. He deserves it. And I think since we are talking about General Vk Singh, I think he was the right choice that the government made in promoting him to a 4-star rank. And he he has exhibited those qualities of decision making, of taking balanced views, and what we term in the army, which is very important, is possessing the equilibrium of mind. That is very important. The capability to have the breadth of vision. Everyone has a vision, but the capability of having the breadth of vision when you can see things from the corner of your eye and you can have contingency plans. You can know, you can expect like a chess game. If I do this, this is what will happen. What do I need to counter it? So, Amit, let me also make it known quite clearly out here. Most of the corporate strategies, and I've been in the corporate for nearly 10 years after retirement, is that the corporate strategies are more military strategies that have been adopted in terms of leadership, in terms of succession planning, in terms of career progression. All have been copied from the armed forces, whether it's the Indian Armed Forces, whether it's the US Armed Forces, wherever it be. Military people have that capability. I don't say that others don't have it, they do have it. But military people have that capability to perform in great adversity, especially when dealing with lives of troops. In the corporate sector, we are not dealing with the lives of troops. We are dealing with money matters. So in that way, I think VK exhibited those qualities. So did General Konsam Himalay Singh, though Konsam is nearly about 17 courses my junior, but I still regard him as one of the most outstanding examples of a military leader. I've read KH's book also, very well written. I have VK, my course mate's book with me, which is courage and conviction with this gentleman who is Kunal, who has written it. I met Kunal. So I've had a very frank chat, and I keep talking with VK also at times. And I think that is the hallmark of leadership, your ability to perform, your ability to perform under adversity. And I think that's why VK was selected to perform these two difficult tasks. So much so about what makes a general. And the final point I'll say is, when I was an instructor at the academy training cadets, gentlemen cadets, I'm very happy to say that 3 of my cadets became 3-star generals, lieutenant generals. 2 of them I pipped in 1980 because their parents couldn't come. And one of my cadets I'm meeting today in the evening for dinner. He has been so nice. His name is Lieutenant General Vk Singh from the Engineer Regiment. He called me up yesterday. He said, "Sir, I would like to have dinner with you." And I always maintain that all cadets pass out from the academy as well-polished spherical balls. The ball is rolled into different lanes. Some people get impediments in their lanes by virtue of a pebble or by some irritant. So that spherical ball gets a dent, and that ball doesn't roll that far ahead. So that is part of the luck. But just to say luck is incorrect, it has to be professional competence. So anyone who's reached a 3-star rank or a 4-star rank or a 5-star rank deserves it. I have been in war in 71. I have served on the line of control where General Vk Singh was. I was there in 77 on the line of control. I have been in counterinsurgency operational environment in the Northeast for 3.5 years. I have served again in the J&K. So I know what it is. And ultimately, I will say this much. I've also had the pleasure of being a second lieutenant when Field Marshal Manekshaw was the Chief of Army Staff. 4-star, later became a 5-star general. So I think the hallmarks of becoming a true leader, reaching the pinnacle of glory, that's a 3-star or a 4-star rank, depends largely on the attitude of the officer, his grooming, and the manner in which he conducts himself. Thank you.
Brigadier Saab, you have always played the role of the great opening batsman for the series continuing over the last 15 months, and it's going to be a long drawn game now, as you are very well aware of, because the Amrit Kal is going to start after the Amrit Mahotsav is over in August, and we are game for it. But one thing is for sure, it's not about the stars. According to me, getting into an NDA itself is a achievement which people should be proud of. You know, in fact, yesterday, I was talking yesterday or day for yesterday, I had a show with Colonel VN Thapar talking about the late Captain Vijayant martyr, Captain Vijayant Thapar ji, who laid down his life in the Kargil war. And at 22, when he went to the, Doklam or that particular sector for the final, ambush or the final war with the Pakistanis, he wrote a letter to his parents wherein he mentioned about even donating whatever is left of his body post his demise. And from the skies, he would be happy to see if the donated organs can serve somebody's life. At 22, a boy coming out of NDA just 3-4 years back writes these kind of things in the eye of death. So that is what NDA is about. I feel stars are just, it's a matter of luck. I think, Brigadier Ajit Apte, General Vk Singh, Lieutenant General Qasim Himalaya Singh, it's the character, it's the human being, it's the spirit, it's the humanity, it's the goodness in the heart, it's the strength of character, straightforwardness, virtuousness, that is what matters. And I also told Colonel VN Thapar a question which keeps lingering in my mind when I deal with so many of you guys from the services, especially the martyrs. Somebody's got martyred doesn't mean others were not ready for martyrdom. It means that they went to the war front, somebody got martyred. I asked the person's family, or yesterday, for yesterday, I asked Mr. V.N. Thapar, sir, in a world where an inch is never given, even if you have a meter by the side, what makes a boy, 22-year-old, sacrifice his life for people who is never seen, for a thought, for an emotion called India? So the answer was, it's the NDA grooming. It's the grooming of the military. It's the way the military takes care. So for me, Brigadier Saab, it's the environment which creates these leaders. Some of them probably with luck, with their own conviction, with their own hard work, go the long distance. Some of them, do not go the final mile, do not reach the final mile. So, but any which ways, I got your point, sir, and I am also very happy that again you have hinted upon a career for me post this. Apart from this shows, I can be a ghost writer to you. I can act as a ghost writer for Brigadier Ajit Apte for sure. And now, because the anecdotes that will come out, General Himalaya Singh, let me assure you, they will be much more military, because I also remember Sharmila Tagore being scared of Brigadier Ajit Apte. So any which ways, now coming back to the real stories, Vaklu Saab, parallels between the military and your leadership?
Well, the thing is that basically I don't find much difference. And I would also like to mention that when I was also a young man, I got selected into the Air Force at the Staff Service Commission, Dehradun. And I was about to join, but a very interesting thing happened. When I went for the medical examination, the doctor there asked me a question. What's your percentage of marks in your, the final engineering one? When I told him that it's X number, he said, are you stupid to join? I said, why? He said, the thing is that in army or defense services, the professionals like medical, because he was a doctor, become secondary. And it's only people who fight on the front. In the case of Air Force, it will be the Air Force, pilots who will actually fight on the front, who will really call the shots. And you will be relegated to a second position, a support role. And that was the time, because I already had also passed my engineering services. So I decided to join the engineering services. That's how it happened. Otherwise, probably I also would have been a part of the Air Force. So there is not much difference, I find. I mean, it's the same thing everywhere. The leadership, it matters. Everything depends upon the situation. And there have been times when, of course, even in the civil area, because I was primarily in the domain of telecom, for us also, protection of the telecom system, it used to be like a matter of life and death. And any interruption for a few minutes also, it would entail that we go on the front. There are times when I've driven the car at midnight in Mumbai towards, Goa side, when there were optical fiber cable faults. So I don't find much difference, but yes, as rightly pointed out, the risks are more there. It all depends upon your destiny when it comes to surviving a particular thing. Because in the case of even telecom, I remember in Gujarat, some of our telecom engineers, they died while trying to repair the cables, because they were, sort of in the trenches. They were killed by trucks. So it all depends. You might die of a bullet, you might die of something else. And at the same time, when it comes to promotions, also it's all destiny. I was listening to Apte. I mean, it's all I would say destined. You may or may not reach the top position. So one has to be lucky for that. Thank you.
I think that is what I also said is, but then I don't want to sound very blunt about it. But any which ways, and neither I do I want to sound very what you call non-glorifying about anybody reaching the zenith of his career in a particular field. But at the same time, now let me make it a little more interesting. After Saab, before I bring in Kamsan Bhai, because Kamsan Bhai has got a lot of funny anecdotes, the haversacks and all that. I remember, I'm sure he must have had some wonderful stories that he must be remembering with General VK as well. But Brigadier Saab, any parallels you draw between the makings of the general and making of a prime minister?
uh, Prime ministers are elected. That's point number one. And there's a lot of voting. As far as a general is concerned, there are no elections. It is a few people who have reached the top of a 3-star level are taken, and there is always a deep selection. And a couple of points which come up are, of course, let me also tell you one thing. When a person has reached, frankly, a brigadier's level, uh, his professional competence with a 3-star general, the difference will only be between, let's say, 18 and 20. A person who has reached the selection process of commanding a brigade and a division, and then a corps or an army command, the difference will not be too much. So let's take it that the difference may be just between 17 and 20. And what happens is, definitely, as one progresses higher in the ladder, commanding a brigade, commanding a division, he's got a wider perspective. His knowledge base is much higher. He's dealing with more people. Lieutenant general further higher. But when it comes to the final selection at the 3-star level, there is a selection to become the army chief from the army commanders and the vice chief of army staff. So that is one aspect. It is a lot of factors are taken in. One is the residual service. One is, of course, his ability to get along with people. What kind of a person will he be? Because an army chief is not only chief of army staff, he's representing the nation at an international platform. He must understand geopolitics. He must be a balanced person. So a lot of things come in. Whereas as a prime minister, you ask, that's sheer election. And again, of course, a prime minister, like in the current scenario, our prime minister has exhibited tremendous knowledge, tremendous geopolitical and strategic capability. He knows how to weigh things. So all said and done, a prime minister is head of the country. He is functioning in an environment of uncertainty and ambiguity, which even an army chief is doing. But an army chief is functioning in an environment of uncertainty and ambiguity for specific periods, whereas a prime minister is constantly functioning in that environment because he has got hostile people around him, especially the opposition party. How does he manage them? How does he yet emerge as a true winner? So all these factors come in. So there is the basic difference. The prime minister is elected, an army chief is not elected. He is picked up from the plate that you have. It's like a buffet service. You got so many dishes, so you got so many 3-star generals, about 5 or 6 at the level of an army commander, including a vice chief, and you pick up the person who you think is the most suitable. So that is one subtle difference. And of course, their games are different of it. It is like, comparing apples with oranges, which frankly may not be a correct perspective. So each one plays its part. And I think if we have a stable government with a stable military, because ultimately a country needs stability in the terms of political, military, economic, diplomatic, all these pillars have to combine together and ensure that we, forge a winning combination. And I think the finest example I can give you is the 1971 war, which is an unparalleled example of how the military, the politicians, the diplomats, and all other people of the country got together to give us the winning formula. So the Prime Minister plays his own part, and the army chief, and so do the service chiefs, play their own different part. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right. The basic difference, I think, for reaching the position is definitely the process. And then the most important difference is that here, in the case of a prime minister and the general, the enemies are outside, but in the case of a prime minister, the enemies are more inside than what they have outside. Anyways, ways. Now, let me quickly bring in Lieutenant General Consul Himalaya Singh. You worked with Vk Saab, and you must have had the experience of working or probably experiencing the leadership of quite a few generals all through your 40 years of services career. So how would you compare his leadership with other generals of the Indian Army?
Thank you. Amit, before I start, I would like to comment on, on what Brigadier Apte had said about what makes a general become a general. I will just say one thing: a person of the reputation that Brigadier Apte enjoys, he would have been one of the most outstanding generals of Indian Army. But as he rightly explained, that sometimes there are so many policies and constraints without whose backing or not backing, without that he could not be in the line for the chief or something like that, which he himself was not aware when he was commissioned into the army. General Brigadier Apte enjoys such reputation in entire Indian Army. I know his credentials quite well. So he missed out on these issues of policy matters, and also as luck factor in some way. I think I would never have picked up a rank beyond brigadier. But for the Kargil war, somebody thought that we performed. So maybe somebody thought that, okay, this guy may do a better job. So luck factor also plays a part. Okay. Coming to your question about comparison. Firstly, it is personalities are not compared actually. I will, but yes, certain qualities. Each person is unique in their own way. Each chief is unique in their own way. In fact, I've had the privilege of being visited in my military residences by at least about 5 to 6 army chiefs. When I was in service, at least about 5 to 6 ex-army chiefs. Each one of them are unique. Each one of them had their very, very strong points as well as not so strong points. But finally, it is about, finally it is about what changes, what made you, what difference did you make in your organization when you are the chief? I mean, that boils down to that, what positive changes did you bring to win a war or for the security and sovereignty, to protect the security and the sovereignty of India. To that extent, I think Gen Vk Singh has a considerable edge because of the times that he was working in. For that famous letter which he wrote to the Prime Minister about the hollowness in the Indian Armed Forces, Indian Army in particular, as far as the war preparedness is concerned. That was something that it takes a lot of guts to write to the Prime Minister that this is what is lacking and this is what needs to be done. and this is only with your intervention that it can be done. So that is something that, he made a difference. Otherwise, overall, anyone who has risen to the top, they have their strong points and some of them not so strong points and all, but this one will stand out very clearly in favor of General Vk Singh when he actually practiced what he preached, that's the courage and the conviction. Thank you.
I think you make your point so clear, because I have also had been working with him every day almost for the last 15 months. Almost every day we speak, and every day we've been speaking on something related to the nation's benefit. And I do personally endorse absolutely whatever you just now told me, that he is very clear about as to what he wants to do is, and then he is also very clear about what he should not do. And despite having taken the political route now, he also has really, transgressed from being a army chief to a politician brilliantly, though he has had his own, kind of speed breakers in terms of the comments that he's, because he is somebody who's used to speaking his heart out and calling a spade a spade. The famous quote of the prostitute still lingers loud in my ears, wherein he straight away had reprimanded the press for going out of its way. And now let me, before we've got 10 more minutes for the show, because we'll finish by 5 o'clock. So closing remarks from Vaklu Saab to start with about the current crisis and the way the general handled it as a citizen. How did you see it? Ukraine-Russian crisis.
Sorry, was the question directed at me? Because there was some disturbance in your...
Because I'll ask everybody the same question.
Yeah.
Your views on General Vk Singh, Vk Singh's role on the Russian-Ukraine crisis as a citizen.
As a citizen, I feel that it was an outstanding work done. I have not seen, in very rare cases, do ministers also take such initiatives and lead from the front. It was an outstanding work which was praised not only by us here in India, even the other countries, even Pakistan. I heard some of the commentators saying that their ministers should learn from the Indian ministers the way they managed to get so many 15,000 people, students evacuated from Ukraine in a real war zone. It was an outstanding example. And as a citizen, I really feel proud of General Vk Singh that he really led from the front. And he had done it earlier also in the case of Yemen. And there's no doubt that we are proud to have such ministers in our cabinet here. Thank you.
Kausam, Yemen and Poland, Minister of External Affairs. He was Minister of State External Affairs during the Yemen crisis. Today he handles two different ministries, but he has not shied away from the responsibility. Obviously, these are all political decisions. What we can understand very clearly is that they never had a better person. 10, 15 years back, they never had a better person. Today also, they don't have a better person. So that speaks volumes. Times have changed. Social media is ruling. Brigadier Saab. Brigadier Saab, what I'm saying is, Brigadier Saab, for your sake, I'll repeat it for your sake.
Oh, I've understood, Amit.
15 years back, General Vk was the man to go. He was the man to reach out, and even today he is the man to reach out. The world has turned upside down, but the dynamics of geopolitics are not better understood by many than what General Vk, even the political dispensation, which is completely different from what it was during those times. Even they chose to have the same man despite having a different ministry in his pocket. General Himalaya Singh, your comments on rescue man of India.
I think the very fact that the PMO, trusted him for all these operations or rescue operations in Yemen as well as in Poland, speaks volumes about the confidence that is that PMO Prime Minister has over General Vk Singh. And they knew, I think, they knew that he will deliver and he will do justice to every person or every student or everyone who needs. And he will also do justice to our country's honor and our image. So I'm very proud of General Vk saying that he was given this opportunity and he did it extremely well, and we are proud of him. Thank you.
In Yemen, he had to also collaborate with the Navy. We should not forget that Admiral Robin Dhawan, who is an amazing leader and a friend and a patron to the forum, Admiral Robin Dhawan has also been here at least 6-7 times, and he has spoken at length about Yemen, along with General Vk. Also, there were a couple of shows. Brigadier Ajit Apte, 20 years, nothing has changed. The same man, 72-year-old General Vk Singh, from Yemen to Poland. I mean, we need to soon find out somebody to replace him.
Yeah, Amit, before I must firstly thank General K.H. Singh for his very kind words. K.H., thank you very much. You've been very kind to me.
No, sir, sorry to interrupt, sir. It is not an exaggeration that, and we are not into any kind of personal histrionics or any kind of dramatization on individual grounds. I do personally believe that Brigadier Ajit Apte, I have seen 250 of the top services brass in the last 15 months. Being a young man, knows nothing about the army, nothing about leadership. I haven't seen better leaders than Brigadier Ajit Apte.
Yes, I endorse that.
I think you both are very kind. I will just say this much. In my 35 years of service, having fought a war and being a third generation army officer, I think it gives me great pride to listen to such nice words. Thank you very much, General Consul Himalaya Singh, Amit. And I must say something what Mr. Watlu said. He's absolutely right. He would have got through to the Air Force, but probably he took that medical doctor's suggestion very wisely. And I think he has also emerged a great champion and leader in whatever he chose. So I always say leaders are not only military leaders. Leader is a person who, when confronted with a situation, can negotiate it successfully. Leaders are there, situations spring up leaders. In the army, we are trained. In the military, we are trained. Politically, we are trained. Diplomatically, everyone. You just see our external affairs minister, the way he has handled things. But now, when we talk, why only VK? As you all know, once the credibility builds up, then no one wishes to take a chance. It happens in the army very often, and I'm sure KH will bear with me as a commanding officer or as a brigade commander. If some difficult task has to be done, then I will, or even General KH would have done the same thing, call for that man, because I know that the guarantee of success will be the highest. Of course, we are all human beings. We are all bound to err. There are many stakeholders for success. So notwithstanding that, in difficult situations, you will always fall back on the center of gravity of your thoughts, who is to be selected. So that way VK stands out. Yes, Yemen, Poland, we don't know how many more such opportunities will come. But you're right, we need to have a second in command or a line of succession because all the time VK cannot be made available. But once a task is there, probably as General KH has said, the PMO thought that the man is here, irrespective whichever ministry he is, let us deploy him. And we also perform even better because there are many people. But what happens in human beings is you get that sense of pride. You run that extra mile. And here I will say one thing. I've also heard a lot about KH. He's done exceedingly well in Kargil, and they always ran the extra mile. So also Mr. Waklu has run the extra mile in his own profession. That's why he's reached where he is. And I'm sure even if he is asked for some difficult task, he will straight away single out the person whom he has full faith in, because there are no runners up in such a case. There is no situation where I can say I did my best. Unfortunately, in such a situation, it is not like the Olympics or sports. Well played, somebody has to win. No, well played, I have to win. So if I have to win and it's the stake of the nation in front of the whole world, then I will also select the same guy who is available. And it may sound that he is indispensable, but he is. For that particular task, he becomes indispensable. So, in a nutshell, I'll say this much, that we all have to become islands of excellence so that we are always wanted. And I think that is the biggest credit to a person if he is constantly wanted. So that is what catapulted VK to perform. He knew fully well that he has been selected for a second task. And I think the manner in which he conducted himself, dealing with students, is different. Dealing with trained soldiers, trained officers is different. Dealing with civilians, school children who are probably the age of my grandchildren is something different. So I think full marks to him, full marks to everyone who is here. Since you asked me to sum up, I will say, Mr. Waklu, excellent what point you gave. You chose a different line and you excelled there. I think your doctor at the Services Selection Board gave you the correct advice. Otherwise, we wouldn't have enjoyed your company at such an elite position. So also General KH. So I think we all have performed in our different capacities. And Amit is also here sitting today, coordinating everyone. So I think Amit, full marks to you for your perseverance, what I will say is your doggedness, resolute combat potential that you have. This is something which we always say, that if you have the resolute combat potential, you can perform anything. And I think hats off to you. Thank you very much, General KH, Mr. Waklu.
Brigadier sir, when is the last time you shook hands with General VK? We're closing the show now. When is the last time you shook hands with General VK?
Well, I must tell you, this shirt which I am wearing right now, I played golf with VK at the Army Golf Course when he was the Army Chief, and we had dinner at his house. And that I think was quite some time back. And I think I met him once when he came here to Pune, but it would be at least 8 to 10 years ago. So that's it. But this is the shirt which VK gave me, and I'm wearing it.
Oh, that's a lovely gesture. That's a lovely gesture. That's a lovely gesture. Now good that you lifted it up and showed it to us. Otherwise, I was very sure this is one of those another fancy night suits that you're on.
Oh, no.
That you're on with. let me close the show by saying that I am probably lucky to shake hands with General VK quite frequently, and over the last 10 years, the grip has grown stronger. That's General VK for you. Goodbye, gentlemen. Jai Hind.
Yeah, thank you.